Good day, everyone. Welcome to the new phys ed and wellness curriculum uh, update, unpacking, review. Um, doesn't matter what grade you are, this applies to any of you in K to 6. So we'll get started. So, very first thing you need to understand is ministerial order came out in August 6th, 2020. And with this, it identified that the new curriculum will be developed. The old curriculum was out. But one of the pieces it identified a number of skills, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is they've technically removed specifications in the new curriculum around career research, career development. But in this ministerial order, you'll see there's 14 key skills, and I'm just going to highlight one of them, and that's key skill 11. And it identifies that explore life opportunities in various ways and forms. And that ministerial order is in action regardless of what the curriculum says. If you did just a search of the new curriculum, you'll also find that there's links in other K to 6 subject areas like science, math, language arts, pertaining to career exploration. And you see in the top right hand corner, that's the old outcomes. They've kind of vanished. What you'll see when I do the unpacking and any of the documents that you receive for the exercise today, I've highlighted in blue anything that pertains to career exploration. So you'll see it's not missing, but it's not clearly identified as before. And if you did searches, these three are in the preamble rather than the outcomes of those subject areas. So it's there. So what I'm telling people is traditionally you've always done career exploration in the health component. Keep doing that. Even though other subject areas they allow it and they want this to be cross curricular, don't stop doing it. If you're a generalist and you teach all of the subjects, you're going to embed it into science, math, language arts where it applies anyhow. So continue what you are doing. The next thing that you'll know, and this is just a screenshot of the New Learn Alberta, which I'll give a little demo at the end. But this is where the new curriculum it has been housed or is housed, and it's updated. So any of the K to 6 phys ed and wellness content is updated to date, and it's the finalized version. You'll notice at the bottom, there's competency progressions, literacy progressions, and numeracy progressions. Those were developed a number of years ago, and they still hold true with the new curriculum. And I will show you when I do the New Learn Alberta little demo how that applies to specifically the phys ed and wellness curriculum. Specific to the competency progressions, here's the list of them. There are 8, but without you know, saying how they apply to phys ed and wellness, you'll see most of these apply directly. In fact, you'll see some words like communication. That's a direct term in the phys ed and wellness curriculum. So again, I will show you how they apply to phys ed and curriculum, but keep doing them. These are required to do throughout the year in progressions. It doesn't say specific to outcomes as long as you're doing them and how often they're assessed, etc. So please remember that those are still in play. The final document that's important to talk about is the TQS. And in the redevelopment and rewrite of this curriculum, and I'll show you in a search, they identify a lot more links to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit foundational knowledge. And it's a requirement. So TQS, Teacher Quality Standards, is a legal document that we must follow as teachers. But as an example, in grade 4, they identify strategies and tactics um, used in First Nations, Métis, and Inuit games. So there's a link. If you have those types of activities or games, please include them, and you're meeting that standard in the TQS. And it's standard 5 is the one that I'm speaking specifically to. What you'll also see is this is specific to the old health. In the old health, they talked about 3 areas: wellness choices, relationship, and life learning choices. In the new design or framework, you will see there's an organizing idea. This organizing idea is the same from kindergarten to grade 6. So that organizing idea doesn't change per grade, it's the same. What will be different is they start off with a guiding question, then the actual outcome. And the outcome is what is the measurable um, assessment piece. But reading the learning outcomes, it may not be specific or as measurable. You will find that under, for example, the skills and procedures. So under the learning outcome, and they're going to call them cusps, knowledge, understanding, and skills and procedures, you'll see that the design and framework has those. And that's where you can say, okay, these are accessible pieces under that learning outcome. In the phys ed, in the old phys ed curriculum, there's activities, benefits, health, cooperation, communication, and do it daily for life. In the new curriculum, exactly the same thing for the components for the phys ed side of things. So organizing the idea, guiding question, a learning outcome, and the cusps. Now, speaking of do it daily for life, I need to clearly say a couple things. The new curriculum doesn't identify 30 minutes of activity or daily physical activity per day. It's the guide to education. And we have been told the guide to get education will not be changed at this point. So continue your daily physical activity, minimum 30 minutes a day. The other thing, and this is a piece to speak to with your administrators, is minutes of instruction. This has been a fairly common question in these sessions. The same minutes of instruction based on the guide to education, again, continue. So you basically combine the phys ed and health minutes, and that's your total minutes for this. There's nothing that says you can't separate the phys ed component in the new curriculum from the wellness component, because there are timetabling implications such as rooms. So you might want to have the health components in a classroom versus the phys ed components in the gym or other activity center or outside. So that's to consider. And I know administrators in most cases for your prep periods will either take the fine arts or the health or phys ed if you have a phys ed specialist, and provide those preps at those times. That won't change. Administrators have the right to do that. And again, it's only the minutes of instruction that are important. How you do that within your school, that's an individual choice based on your administrators or your school division. So again, very comfortable. I need to say too, as we move forward, I am very pleased with this new curriculum. It has been rewritten, and I think it's a very strong upgrade to the previous curriculum. So as I go through and unpack and share some of those ideas with you, and you do the unpacking exercise, there is some good quality there. What you'll see is the organizing ideas for all K to 6. There is 8 of them. Character development, healthy eating, growth and development, safety under that wellness side or the old health side. I put the safety in the phys ed side too, because there's activity safety versus personal safety. But in the phys ed, the organizing ideas are active living and the movement skill development. So you're going to see direct correlations to what you've seen before. What is very new is the financial literacy component. This, and if I can speak to the previous curriculum, the only time students were provided foundational skills around this financial literacy, so about money, budgeting, um, credit, those types of things, was done in grade 11 in the COM 20 program. So our provincial government has identified that this is a need that students should have at an earlier age, right beginning to kindergarten. And it starts off in kindergarten at just what is money. You know, students need to identify what currency is. So, what are bills? What are coins? That they're in different colors, they're in different sizes and shapes. So, it starts off fairly simple at kindergarten and move their way up. So, have a specific look when you unpack um, with your grade and that financial literacy expectation. Now, here again, this is something that has been spoken about in our zone. Financial literacy piece, we're going to develop resources as a separate entity because a large number of school divisions will have the math teacher teach this component. We do have in isolated cases, the phys ed and wellness teacher will do that. That's a discussion to have with your either central office or your school administrator to identify that somebody needs to do it and who does it. My caution here, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is, doesn't make sense to have the math teacher do it and the phys ed and wellness teacher unless you're that generalist, or having that expectation of, well, I'm the math teacher, but it's the phys ed and wellness responsibility. And then the phys ed and wellness teacher says, well, this really is math. It's the responsible of the math teacher. Nobody has that conversation and it gets forgotten. So as long as there's assurances that component is covered, then that's really all that's required. So we're going to go through an exercise here. There will be a Jamboard that I would like your feedback after you're done. And in the Jamboard, there's 4 questions. What do you feel is new? What's missing? What's the same? Most importantly, the 2 pieces, and you may do this just on separate sticky notes rather than the Jamboard, but the 2 pieces that we need feedback are, based on your review, what are your concerns? You know, is it resources? Is it assessment? Is it, oh no, this is really new. How do I do that? How do I deal with the financial literacy? And secondly, what supports do you need? So if I can get at least the answers to those, you'll answer the first 2 yourselves. So what I'm going to do now is just pop out of the slideshow and go to the document, and you should have a copy of that document in front of you. And I'm just going to use grade 3 as the example. They're all designed the same. What you'll also find is, if you're a math and LA teacher and you're working with Chris or Kathy, we've designed these documents so they all look the same. The curriculum is designed so it all looks the same. So previously you would have seen, LA was written and designed, structurally much different than math and much different than the phys ed and wellness. Some key pieces you'll see in the top right. The curriculum doesn't identify outcomes by number. We've inserted these for planning purposes. It's a lot easier when you design your unit plans, lesson plans, to identify them by numbers. So you'll see the first number is the grade, and you'll see over here under the active living learning outcome 3A1.1, it's grade 3. A stands for which of the understandings. So active living. Um, the next number one is the outcome. This is the first under this understanding. And a lot of them only have one, but some have up to three. And that last number identifies is it one, two, or three. So um, what I've done, color coded them. And again, you'll see color coding in another one. I've, as I mentioned, highlighted anything in blue, which identifies some career development or career research. The very first column is the old outcomes, and I've separated them based on the new understandings. So you don't have to go through and unpack and try to find those. I've done that for you just to save time and frustration. So they, anything in the old curriculum that is similar um, to the new curriculum, I've separated them. So under active living, um, it's basically that do it daily for life, being active. Uh, the second part, and that's the one that kind of applies to phys ed, is movement and skill development. And this is specific to, you know, building skills development. One of the thing that you will see, and I'm going to highlight this in yellow, you're going to see frequently the words tactics. So as you move through the grades, this is kind of that coaching model. So we're starting to teach familiarity to offense, defense, plays, strategies is another term that is attached to tactics. That was missing in the old curriculum. So here, this is another one of those kind of advancements in the new curriculum. Here's one where it has a second learning outcome. This is, again, back to those basic skills. And you'll see it's broken down a lot more. There's some terminology there that is similar, but it's much easier to follow with the understanding, knowledge, and skills and procedures falling under each of those outcomes. Character development, this, attached to, and again, here, this is in blue, is similarities to the old career development, but there's kind of an expansion around that. So again, I've tried to highlight in blue specific to that. What you'll also see in here, there's a lot more around family structure, values. Here, the term, and most of you have seen this, self-regulation wasn't in the previous curriculum. So self-regulation is new. Resilience is another term that's new. And when I, do kind of an overview, you'll see some of the things there. But starting to build things around trust issues, you'll see starting at an early grade, you'll see bullying is part of the curriculum. Again, another strong enhancement to the old curriculum, starting to teach what bullying is, even at the earliest ages, words to use for consent or saying no. So again, starting early, you'll see a lot of cases in this curriculum, who your supports are. So they've identified, who these people are that should be your supports. And it includes spiritual leaders and elders and knowledge keepers. Safety, here again, it's more than just around, activity safety, and it's not in the New Learn Alberta as a resource yet, but the physical safety guidelines from 2013 still exist. So you look up the activity, it gives you the low, medium, high risk, what you need to do, what steps, what permissions, what equipment. That's still there. Please keep using that resource for your activities. And you'll see, there's that environmental safety, but you'll see personal safety. The healthy eating. Well, you'll look at the old outcome. All it does is talk about Canada's food guide. And again, another strong enhancement to our curriculum is the healthy eating section. We get to relationships. Again, another enhancement that is very strong. Lots about relationships and trust. And that's very important in this day and age, especially around that wellness piece. Growth and development. What you'll find, those of you in grades 4 to 6 will see that used to be the human sexuality, and those of us old in the room, the theme 5 component. And you'll see on the left what was identified. It's a lot more around growth, healthy living, and beyond, what was there. If you're in K to 3, there's more around just growth and development. Once you get 4 to 6, it talks about puberty and maturation, etc., phases in life that you move through. So again, it's much more extensive. Finally, and this is that new piece, and in this example, I talked about already the kindergarten example, but the outcome is students describe strategies that support responsible money management. All right, so we're starting at an early age, specific in grade 3, around making wise choices in purchasing. What is responsible spending? That was never existent in the previous curriculum. So another very positive thing. It's not extensive. It doesn't take tons of time. One of the suggestions that we are saying that every school should have a Canadian currency money kit available in the classrooms. But here you can see, and if you look back through the other grades, that there is a progression with regards to this, and students learning what money is and responsible money practices in a variety of ways. So that's kind of a quick overview. I'm going to stop this recording, give you 20 minutes, intended to sit with a table partner or a group, probably the same grade levels, just to go through and look at some specifics. So what specifically has changed from the old to new to build that mindset yourselves, and starting to think, okay, and the framework, all right, reading carefully through a few examples about, all right, we start off with that organizing idea and outcome, but what are the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures for each of them? So I'll pause now and we'll bring the group back in 20 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. Please, hopefully during your conversations, as you're going through that, you're making notes on sticky notes with some of these things that are important. I'm compiling all of the responses, and especially the concerns and the supports needed for the K to 6 phys ed and wellness. It helps drive our planning and based on what your needs are. So please share those with your facilitator for the day, and they will get back to me and I compile them. So, here just kind of a quick overview with the old to the new. You'll notice that it's more extensive. Growth and development, more extensive. There's bullying. The eating part is there. Resiliency, the regulation, relationships, responsibility. It still has the volunteer experiences and the financial literacy, and then the phys ed. A lot more emphasis on participation, That's strategy or tactics and teamwork and fair play. So um, that's just an overview, but it's been redesigned and rewritten in a more extensive and a very positive manner. I haven't given you my background, but I was a school administrator for 23 years, in the classroom for 30. I always taught the health and phys ed. I was the zone facilitator from the last curriculum, I believe in 2008, that was released. So I've gone through it before, gone through it again, taught it, and I think it's amazing. All right, I'm going to take the time now and quickly give you a snapshot of the New Learn Alberta. Eventually, we'll be doing some sessions. There's some pieces called My Boards, but the application is a lot nicer than holding a couple PDFs of things side by side. So I will just give you a demo now of that. When you go, you'll get here. Eventually, you'll be able to. I'm logged in under my account, but you'll be able to go in, register. You'll need your Alberta teacher certificate number when you do that. I'm just going to click on the new curriculum. And again, there's that slide that I showed earlier. I'm going to click on the phys ed and wellness. And let's pick grade 3 because I talked about the grade 3. And what you'll see here is, wow, it's side by side. You'll see this organizing idea is the same across all of the grades. So you can see what's happening in grade 2, what's happening in grade 4. All right, so that's a nice piece. They're side by side. Here's one of the things that I would like you to do when you go there. Do that on your own. You can, this is still in the public view, so you don't have to have your account yet to do all of this. But if you hover over a learning outcome and click on this eye, remember I mentioned the connections between the progressions and the curriculum? Well, here you go. For this learning outcome, you will see here's the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures for that learning outcome. But if I click on competency progressions, it's done for you. It's linked which competencies are attached to that specific learning outcome. So the planning and legwork is done for you. There's even literacy progressions and numeracy progressions attached to this learning outcome. So that is an upgrade from what we have previously had that sure makes planning a lot easier. The other piece, if I go to resources, so specific to this outcome, here are the resources that are there. Now, this isn't all of them. It's going to be continually populated. So if I go back to the site, and I'm going to go back here, and on the left-hand side, you'll see explore resources. Right now, there's 284. When we first did this a week and a half ago, there was 256. So they've already started populating that. Pick your grade, pick your subject area. You can even pick, resource types, etc. But it starts to narrow down what resources are available. And like I said, there'll be literally hundreds, if not thousands, of resources put in here. What they're doing is going through a process of identifying which outcomes are attached to previous resources. So don't expect a whole bunch of new resources when you do that. So we'll go back to the curriculum and phys ed and wellness. And I mentioned there's a search feature. So one of the things that I want you to type in, or I will, so I'll type in First Nations. So in the curriculum, I'm going, oh, it's identified in the pre-matter for phys ed and wellness. Um, and there's 10 pages here, but you'll go through and say, oh, gee, there's, and let's narrow this down because there was 322. I only want the phys ed and wellness. All right, so now we'll see here. So in grade 3, here's where the references are. And again, mention that word tactics. All right. So again, easily searchable. I'll type in financial literacy. And again, in this grade, this gives you those organizing ideas, but you'll see that there is some reference to other grades. So if I took out phys ed and wellness and said all of them, so all of a sudden you'll see it's in social studies, it's in math, French language arts, English language arts. So, and again, there's 53 references to that financial literacy. So the search tool is great, but it's a good application. I suggest taking some time, have a look at it. That's where all of that information in your document came from. All right, here's my email. Please write it down. If you have any questions or concerns about the phys ed and wellness curriculum, please send them to me. I'm looking after not only our zone in this subject area, but I'm the lead provincially. So we share ideas based on some of those needs and concerns that you have so that we can make this transition much easier for you as you move forward into full implementation in September. So thank you for taking that time with me today. Hopefully that document will give you some help. I know if you're a multi-subject teacher, just ask your district lead. There's other copies of different grades as well. If you happen to be a multi-grade teacher, a 2-3 split, or etc. So again, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording, and I know your day will be filled with some work with some math and language arts, and we're behind you with the consortia all the way as we start implementing this.